What do you think happens when we die?
We go to heaven.
And what do you think's in heaven?
Dead people.
Yeah!
Well, I'm Jacqueline. I'm a sophomore at the U of I, studying English with a double minor in theater and secondary education. I'm a Christian. I've been a Christian since 7th grade. And I believe that Jesus died on the cross for me. And because if I accept that and I live for Him, then I get to go to heaven.
Alright, my name is Sangeeta. I'm an electrical engineering here at the U of I, and I'm a Hindu.
Hi, I'm Sahithi. I'm an aerospace engineering major at U of I, and I'm also Hindu, sometimes on Wednesdays, and other times I'm also Hindu, but...
My name is Lindsay Foster, and I am an atheist. I am going to the University of Illinois to be an archaeologist. I'm studying anthropology.
Hi, my name's Shabna, and I'm a junior. Is that loud enough?
What? Huh? Yeah, that's fine.
I'm a junior in chemical engineering, and I identify myself as Muslim, but not very Muslim.
I'm Elliot Schwartz. I'm an aerospace engineer, and I believe in a God, and I believe that when you die, there is something after that, and you get rewarded for the good things you do, and you get punished for the bad things that you do.
So do you identify with Christianity, Judaism?
I'm Jewish.
Jewish?
My name is Ari Burian. I'm a campus rabbi here at the University of Illinois. I work for an organization called JET, Jewish Education Team, and our focus is to provide educational opportunities to Jewish students on campus. So that's basically how I spend my day, and my profession is teaching about Judaism to Jewish students here.
My name's Reverend Karen Bush, and I'm my 25th year as the campus minister with the United Church of Christ, and so UCC ordained.
I am Georgine Baker.
Then, what religious affiliation do you? What religion do you associate with?
Well, I am a member of a Methodist church. It used to be in El Paso, but now we haven't been going. Too busy.
Mm-hmm. So, what do you think happens exactly after you die? Like, what do you envision happening?
I believe that when you die, you're almost in front of some sort of panel of judges, and you know, they go through, you know, these are the good things that you did, these are the bad things that you did, and you know, based on, you know, at that point I feel like you realize yourself where you belong, and so you either you know, go to a good place, you know, what people call heaven, or you just can't bear what you did, and you just get thrown into you know, hell, or whatever you want to call it.
Uh-huh.
Well, I mean, I'm not like, yeah, I get to die, but I think once you die, and you know, if you've accepted that Jesus is your Savior, and you know, if you try and live for Him after that, and you know, you try and, you know, sin as less as you can, but I mean, you can't stop sinning, you should go to heaven.
So in Judaism, we believe that that there's a body and a soul relationship, and that and so your question is basically asking them what happens to the soul. If we believe we take the Jewish practice, take a body and bury it and put it in the ground, but we believe that the soul lasts eternally. That the soul is actually a piece of God. That even though we view God as one and infinite and indivisible, and that's really what our religion is based on. The idea of monotheism is not that God is one and not two, but that God is one and nothing can exist outside of that oneness. But we do see things in the world that aren't seemingly separate from God. We see tables and chairs and ourselves and light and energy and love, and all these things are seemingly different things. We believe these are all, in our eyes we see them as separate, but really in God's eyes this is all just one, and this is all what God is. And so a human soul is also a piece of God, and that's eternal and lasts forever. So when the body dies, the soul leaves the body, and there's a process before the soul goes to, in English called heaven. In Hebrew call it Gan Eden, which is interesting. It's translates as the Garden of Eden. We believe that that perfect world that was on earth was transported to the spiritual realm, and that's where this perfect perfection of spiritual existence exists. And before the soul can reach that location, what we call heaven, there's a cleansing process, which I often describe as when you have like a very dirty pot, so you have to scrub it with like some steel wool, and at the end the pot ends up sparkling clean. But in the process, it's a very painful thing, and so we believe this process, which lasts a maximum of 12 months, where the soul gets cleansed from all of the negative things, all the tar or junk that it picked up while in its lifetime, and after that cleansing, then goes to its place in heaven. We believe there's many different levels of heaven, and each soul earns a specific place based on the merits and deeds they did in this lifetime. And then once it's cleansed, then it goes to that place, and it exists there forever, for eternity.
Mm-hmm.
I believe that you live just to live, not to go to heaven or to hell. I believe that you just live your life and you should be a good person, but that's it. Like, after you die, that's it.
Mm-hmm. Would be.
I do believe that there is a heaven and hell. And from what I know in Islam, there is a day of judgment where, God tells you, like, based on your good deeds and your sins, whether you deserve to be in heaven or hell or not. And so they just go over things, whether you deserve to be or not. So yeah, I do believe that there is heaven and hell. I don't really think about it that much, but
your karma, which is kind of influences what happens to you in your next life. So in each stage of your cycles, your life, you can either be promoted or demoted depending on what you do in that life. So I mean, if you do a lot of good deeds and you're philanthropic, you help people, you're devout to your family, your God, whatever, then you'll go up in stature in your next life. And then you just kind of keep escalating until, your soul is like pure whatnot, and you reach that point and your soul becomes free of the cycle.
So you said you believe in a higher power and a higher, like, spiritual being, kind of.
right.
What do you think that necessarily is? Do you think it's kind of a God figure, or do you think it's something else?
I do believe it's like a God figure, because I know in Hinduism they like worship different like statues or multiple gods, but I do believe that there is a higher being. And I know in Islam there are multiple prophets. Prophet Muhammad was the main prophet, the messenger of God. So yeah, I just believe that there is some sort of higher being, like how my mom puts it, like kind of just controlling what's going on. There's someone up there who always knows what's going to happen. So and everything does happen for a reason. And
I kind of think of him as a person, because we're created in his image. So like that's what, like, when I imagine God, that's what I imagine. And I personally imagine him male, because they say like he's the father of Jesus and stuff like that. And I don't know, I just imagine him as like this like huge old tall man, like in The Simpsons, who's like looking down on everyone. That's my best way of describing
with that big white beard.
Yeah, exactly.
In regards to creation and existence, I believe that there is, like, when I say God, I mean that there's more of like a supernatural force that allows us to be in equilibrium on Earth right now, and those are primarily my beliefs. Whenever I think about God, I honestly don't know. My main religious beliefs, I use Hinduism as a tradition, but regarding religious beliefs, I do believe in God, but I believe that the Hindu gods are there more for like moral purposes. Like the stories, as she said, they're very similar to Aesop's fables, and I feel like they're primarily to instill moral values on people.
There are many definitions of God that make no sense to me. There are many definitions of God in the Christian realm I find almost offensive, Sure. But I have my own. Paul Tillich is an author a theologian who spoke of God as the ground of all being, that beyond which there is no other, which is awfully big.
Do you believe in heaven as a place, or do you believe in it as more of like state of mind?
I think of it as a place.
Mm-hmm.
Just sit and party with Jesus all day.
So,
I mean, heaven pretty much being the best place you could be, you know, everything, you're always, you know, something always to do, you know, just relaxing, and hell being pretty much the exact opposite, you know, worst case scenario, just, you know, worst things that could happen to you, probably.
Well, I think hell, it's where you go, you know, you just live the life you want to and you don't pay attention, or you don't try and live for God at all, and I mean, it's a place of eternal suffering. It's a place that I don't think anyone wants to be in.
The thing that makes most sense to me is that our life here on earth is a blip in the screen of our existence. That we come from somewhere else and we will go to another realm also. And that what makes more sense to me is that we live a number of lifetimes. And that, in fact, there's even places in the Bible that would kind of affirm this. So I don't believe in heaven or hell. If anything, hell's here on earth. You know what I'm saying?
what are the common funerary practices?
Okay, so when someone dies, they have till Friday before Sabbath to bury them. I think that might be different. They usually don't have like I'm pretty sure they don't have like an open casket thing, you know, over the weekend or something like that. And then it's pretty close to like a Christian or any other, or I can't say any other, but it's pretty close to a Christian funeral. Everybody gathers around. They say, you know, prayers, the special prayers for you know, a funeral. They might even have a session where they talk about, you know, what the person did during their life, and you know, funny things that happened to them, like good times, you could say, and then they put them in, say a couple more prayers, and that's about it. I mean, it is.
I definitely think it should be the wishes of the deceased. I've been to 2 funerals of family members this year, and both of them were quite religious, and I was fine being there, even though they were religious, because I respected the way that they lived their lives and the way that they wanted their funerals to go.
So, going off that, so what do you think about like burial processes? Do you think that it matters, like, about like if they're buried versus cremated versus, you know, embalmed versus not, anything like that?
I don't really have any specific views on that. I think that should also be up to the deceased, however they want to do that. I don't really know how I would want mine to be at this point. I mean, I'm only 20 years old, so I haven't really thought about it. But I've been to funerals where they've been cremated and where they've been embalmed and are in a casket. But I don't have any particular like preferences on that, I'd say.
What I know, though, I think that my great-grandparents, they were buried in a casket. So, but I do know that some Muslims do are cremated, right? But from I think that's also a cultural thing as well. So I don't know the religious aspect of it, but in Bangladesh, which is a primarily Muslim country, there are quite a few people that are buried in caskets.
The soul has a connection with the world through the body, even after the body passes away. With the soul that comes to the funeral, is there to hear the eulogies, and it does feel pain if it's not. Basically, the decomposition of the body is also, just as the soul is being cleansed, so the body by decomposing is also a way of purifying it. And if that decomposition is elongated, because it's embalmed or it's not buried, so that's a painful thing for the soul. And also, if you go and cremate it, so it's also, because it wasn't treated with proper respect, it also affects the soul in some negative way. But really, we believe the commandments are given to living people, not to dead people. So a person who's passed away is not really punished for anything, whether it's like this or like that, but really it's responsibility of the family.
I really don't think it matters. either way because you get new bodies in heaven. So, I mean, this body's just going to sit and rot. So, I mean, if you want to save money and cremate it, you know, I don't think it's a big deal. And I don't think God's like, well, you got buried instead of cremated. Sorry, you can't come. Like, I don't think it really matters in the long run. I think it's just kind of personal preference or whatever. I think whatever is better for your family in a way, too.
People are very exclusive. Like, some Christian sects are like only this type of Christian will go to heaven and everyone else will go to hell. Like, what is the general, like, Muslim belief on that?
I think it's kind of the same. Like, people who fight for religion will go to heaven, and then enemies of God will go to hell. So I think it's kind of the same thing, like, which I really personally don't like. Again, I don't know that much about it, but from what I know, I just think it's very kind of just harsh, just the criticism as far as if you're not Muslim, then you are going to hell. There's some people that are more open-minded, but if for devout Muslims, I think unfortunately just a lot of people think that all Muslims are going to hell, and everyone who doesn't believe in Islam is going to hell.
I believe there are many pathways to following that longing for the divine connection in every human being, whether or not their brain describes that or understands that. And one expression of that is religion. And so, of course, every religion has, I think, there are those who would so take me to task for that. But there is no one religion that is superior over another.
One of the main practices in Hinduism is like tolerance. Like, it's not like one way that you can reach God. It's like all the religions are accepted, and it's just like multifaceted. They're just different ways of getting to the same place.
Some Hindus also believe in Jesus.
Yeah.
We also consider him one of.
Isn't he one of the reincarnations of Vishnu?
Yeah, same with Buddha.
Yeah,
well, I mean, I don't know if the Bible ever specifically says. I mean, I haven't read anything where he's like, well, if you're this, you're going here. But I feel like God wants you to go to heaven. So I don't know. It's one of those confusing things that we never know the answer to because the Bible doesn't tell us everything. I'd like to think that God is lenient. Because I mean, like, if you grew up in, like, I don't know, India, and you've never heard about God, and you just practice like Hinduism or something, why should you get punished because you never heard it? So I think he's accepting. I don't know. I like to believe that he is, at least.
Do you think that if you sin, you're punished, and if you don't sin, you're rewarded?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. It's not that there are people that have the essence of goodness and people have the essence of evil. It's that we all we're here to go to school. We're here to go to school. We're here to learn how to move beyond fear and to move toward the higher consciousness of which is love. So I'm very Hindu right now.
Personally, I feel like I do good just for the sake of doing good, just because it makes me feel good, not for any greater purpose, like to go to heaven or anything like that. I just feel like I should be a good person just for the sake of being a good person, I guess.
Interesting, because if you look through the entire Old Testament, you don't find a single place that a reward is actually set over for what a mitzvah will be. And we really have no idea of what reward is for each thing. And we believe God left all that information out in order to try and have us do mitzvot for an altruistic reason, because we want the world to be a better place. And if someone is just trying to rack up brownie points, they're really not going to get that much out of life, and they're really not going to get that much out of mitzvot. It's going to feel kind of empty to them, just like anything you do, right?
I know this may sound bad, but I feel like it's a little bit selfish to live your life as a good person if you are only doing it to go to heaven. But, I mean, I don't disrespect any other religion for what they believe in. I think that you should believe in whatever works for you. And I really like talking to people about religion. I just don't connect with it myself.
I feel like a lot of Christians, think that just because they believe in God, they're off the hook. And this is, my mom tells me that I guess this is not the case with Catholicism in particular, but, a lot of people think, I believe in God, or, yeah, I did this, but I know it's wrong, and I'm kind of sorry about it. That's not sincere, and, I feel like that's not an acceptable way to say sorry and ask for forgiveness.
Like, what do you think the afterlife is?
Well, now that I don't know.
I mean, do you believe in, like, the Christian idea of heaven and hell?
Yes, I do believe that. However, you want me to say something I've read out of Abu bin Adam?
Yeah.
Abu bin Adam, may his tribe increase, awoke one night from a deep dream of peace. And there was an angel standing there. At least I suppose that person said he was an angel, she. And but Abu bin Adam asked what this angel wanted. And the angel said, I want a list of those who love the Lord. And Abu bin Adam said, I love my fellow man. So the angel put this down and left. Well, not too many nights later, the angel appeared again. And so Abu bin Adam had a paper of something, and Abu bin Adam asked what it was. The angel said, this is a list of those who the Lord has blessed. And lo, bin Adam's name led all the rest.
So
I think it's more important for you to love your fellow man and be a good person than to think too much about going to heaven and all. But I suppose there is someplace we're going if we're good. But someone said to me once, anyone who doesn't believe in Jesus is going to hell. And I said, well, I don't agree with you. Do you think all the Jews, all the Unitarians are going to hell? Well, she never did bring that up again.
Is there more significance to being buried versus being cremated, or?
I don't know. I think whatever the person feels like doing. I mean, I want to be buried by Fred.
We're all different, but one thing stays the same. I mean, we don't know what's going to happen after this life.
Well, tell me how you feel about these things. I mean, do you think people go to heaven?
In all honesty, I don't really know what I believe. I don't know where I think we go. I don't know if there's a God. I don't know if there's heaven. But I think that's the point of faith, is that you don't know, and that you have faith in that. And I mean, we all have our differences, but when we put those aside, we can finally start seeing the big picture. We can finally start seeing how similar we are. We can see all the little things and all the big things. And we can see there's so many different ways to live. There's so many different ways of thinking. I mean, there's so many different beliefs.
I believe. 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 I believe.
And I believe that we should all set our differences aside, because we don't know what's going to happen. We don't know what's waiting for us after this life, but right now for me, that's okay.
failed plan.
What am I supposed to say?
You're not supposed to say anything.
Harrison, I'm your father.
You're not going to get bonus points for this.
You're not
I don't think
gonna-
you will.